Hello, I'm Diane Richard, your host of the Veterans Channel. Thank you for joining us. Our topic today, though difficult, is a needed discussion: veteran suicides. Oftentimes, it's impossible to know what's in the mind of a potential victim, and more so, the why of their choice to end their lives. Could intervention have helped? On January 13, 2015, Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut stated in a news release to the Washington Post that, quote, "Our veterans were losing their personal battles to the invisible wounds of war," unquote. I've learned over the years in speaking with veterans and experts on various subjects regarding our servicemen and women that oftentimes our inability to recognize uncontrolled situations or behavioral changes can, unfortunately, result with the victim feeling there's only one solution for the release of their internal turmoil. Today, we are pleased to have a panel of psychological and behavioral health and suicide prevention outreach experts to help us understand mentally, emotionally, and statistically why this has become the ultimate surrender for many of our veterans. We are also honored to have on our show Mr. and Mrs. Russel and Heidi Crupe, who will share with us their story in the loss of their veteran son, Sergeant Russel Lee Crupe, Jr., to the hands of suicide.
My name is Russel Crupe Sr. I'm the father of Sergeant Russel Crupe Jr. Russel actually originally joined the military in 1998 when before he graduated high school. He went to the United States Navy. And then one day in 2006, he goes, "Dad, I got something to tell you." And I said, as a father, you're waiting for the shoe to drop on what it is. And he goes, "I joined the National Guard today." And I told him, I said, "Well, Russel," I said, being your father, I said, we're in the middle of conflict. I'm not happy about that. I said, but I said, I'm very proud of you, and I respect your decision on this. I think what Russell's, why he enlisted in the military and what he loved about the military is that Russel loved his country. Matter of fact, when Russel was going to be deployed to Iraq, he volunteered to be a fill-in soldier to go to Iraq. And his reason being was, he goes, "Dad," he goes, I volunteered because there's guys in my unit who have children. He goes, "If I can give them more time with their children till our unit goes as a whole," he goes, "that's why I volunteered to go to Iraq." Russel was a very loving individual, and there were some things that happened in the military that bothered Russel. He drove point, which is something we didn't know till he came home. And of the 100+ missions he drove point on, he missed one IED. And that IED went off behind his Husky. And it went off close to a Humvee that had friends in it. Nobody was injured. But I'm pretty sure that was one thing that plagued Russel to the day he died, was that one of his friends could have gotten killed because he missed an IED. Russell's probably favorite thing to do here in the latter years was he loved to play hockey. He played indoor, I don't think you'd call it field. They played it on rollerblades. And he had picked it up like he had played hockey his entire life. There was people out there that couldn't believe that Russel was such a good goalie and had only played for 2 years. He liked to fish. He would hunt. He liked to deer hunt. He wasn't much into small game, but he loved to fish. I didn't see anything. His mother saw one thing where he had an outburst one time when he was at home mowing grass. His friends saw a few things, but the problem is nobody could put two and two together to come up with four. He would wake up in the middle of the night with night terrors. He would take walks not having a clue why he went there. He would have sweats. And most of his friends were afraid to say anything to him because they told us afterwards that they said, well, if we said anything to Crupe, he probably wouldn't be our friend anymore. Russel was such a caring individual that he didn't even do it in his hometown. He drove 2.5 hours away, pulled off the interstate, and shot himself along a ramp on Interstate 79. I look back and wonder what happened to Russel. And I think at times that, was it something I did? Was it something I should have done? I think that I look back and wonder, should I have instilled as much love for our country as I did in my children? But now, 4 years later, almost 4 years later, I've come to realize I didn't do anything wrong. And if I had to do it again, I probably maybe would have more of a conversation with him when he came home, because unfortunately, most soldiers don't talk about what happened when they're overseas. And that goes back since the beginning of time with soldiers. I don't think we as a country help our soldiers reintegrate to society. I think we take for granted the freedoms that they give us. I think the problem is that we need to do more for our military to help them come back into society. What I'm trying to tell people is, if you have a soldier, sailor, Marine that has been in war, or even maybe even domestic warrior, if you think they suffer from PTSD, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, watch for symptoms. There can be change in behavior. You can see somebody who wakes up with night terrors or night sweats. You can see people do things out of the ordinary. And all I'm saying is, be close to the person, watch for these signs, and actually talk to the person. Don't try to run their life. Don't try to become their parent, become a friend. To the point where maybe they will open up, and maybe there's something down inside. They just need to get it out, and if they do, maybe they'll be on the road to mending.
Hello, my name is Diane Richard, your host of the Veterans Channel. Thank you for joining us. Our topic today, though difficult, is a needed discussion: veterans' suicides. Oftentimes, it's impossible to know what is in the mind of a potential victim, and more so, the why of their choice to end their lives. Could intervention have helped? On January 13, 2015, Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut wrote a piece on veterans' suicides titled "Losing Their Personal Battle to the Invisible Wounds of War." I've learned over the years in speaking with veterans and experts on various subjects concerning our servicemen and women that oftentimes our inability to recognize uncontrolled situations or behavioral challenges can, unfortunately, result with the victim feeling only one solution: the release of their internal turmoil. Today, we are pleased to have with us an extraordinary panel of psychological and behavioral health and suicide prevention outreach experts to help us understand mentally, emotionally, and statistically why this would happen and the choice for so many of our veterans. We are also honored to have on our show Mr. and Mrs. Russel and Mr. and Mrs. Russel and Heidi Crupe, who will share with us their story in the loss of their veteran son, Sergeant Russel Lee Crupe, Jr., to the hands of suicide. Welcome, panel.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. What I want to do now is I'd like to introduce each one of you and tell our viewers a little bit about your bio so that they can understand the significant role that each one of you plays in giving us your expert opinion and maybe some of the answers to why this happens to some of our veterans. The first person we're going to start with is Mark Tadero. Mark is a retired command sergeant major from the PA Army National Guard with more than 32 years of service. Currently, Mark is a contractor with Dynamic Systems Technology, Inc., supporting the Pennsylvania Army National Guard as the Suicide Prevention Program Manager. He has been serving in this position since October 2011. Mark is a member of the Governor's Advisory Council for Veterans Health Services, Health Promotion Subcommittee, and Governor's Challenge for Preventing Suicide among Service Member Veterans and their families. Welcome, Mark, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this evening.
Absolutely. Our next panelist is Richard Happ. Richard is the Special Assistant to the Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs. He now serves as the Special Assistant to the Adjutant General and the Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs. Rick continues to serve veterans, their families, by leading managed change in programs, implementing innovative approaches to serving veterans, and expanding outreach capabilities within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Rick leads teams that provide services and assistance to Pennsylvania veterans and their families. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you, ma'am, for having us tonight.
Absolutely. Our next guests are Mr. and Mrs. Russ and Heidi Crupe, and they have a wonderful story to share with us this evening of their son. It's not a great journey that they're on at this particular time, but they know that the benefits of telling their story can help so many others. So I'd like to welcome Mr. and Mrs. Crupe. Our next panelist is um, Lori Murphy, and she is the Pennsylvania State Director of Psychological Health for the Army National Guard at Fort Indiantown Gap. She serves as the administrative point of contact for the Pennsylvania Army National Guard Psychological Health Program. She is the liaison with other National Guard and Pennsylvania State behavioral health programs, boards, and directives, and essentially assigned to serve the Adjutant General's principal consultant and advocate for psychological health. Lori is also an Army veteran, a former Army dependent, and for the last 15 years has worked as an Army civilian, providing behavioral health services to both active duty and National Guard service members and dependents. Initially as a psychotherapist at Fort Hood, Texas, and currently at Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Lori, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's wonderful being
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. And our last panelist is Dr. Keim. Dr. Noretta Keim is a licensed doctoral level psychologist who serves as the Suicide Prevention Program Manager for the 193rd Special Operations Wing, a unit of the Pennsylvania Air National Guard stationed at Harrisburg International Airport in Middletown, PA. She is a traditional guardsman, and outside of the military, she is employed as a full-time civilian psychoanalyst advisor. For the past 25 years, Dr. Keim has worked in the behavioral health field, specializing in the practice of cognitive behavior therapy. She is highly skilled in the diagnosis and the use of evidence-based practices for individuals experiencing psychological distress and mental health disorders. Two specific areas that she has focused on during her career has been the treatment of severe behavioral disorders and the prevention of suicide and suicide attempts. Welcome, Dr. Kime, and thank you for being here.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
And I must mention that to all of you, thank you for your service. I know each one of you have been has served in our military, and I thank you for your service. Okay, so I think we're going to begin our questioning and on this very delicate subject. And I think my first question is going to be, overall, the analysis of veteran suicide rates as released by the Department of Veteran Affairs, what does that mean? And is the release of this information to date, how is it kept? I'd like to open this up to Mark.
Well, actually, I think Rick would be the best one to answer that, because that's right down in his bailiwick right there, Veterans Affairs. He'd be
Excellent.
the one best to answer it.
Okay, Rick, would you answer this for us, please?
Certainly. Yeah, thanks, Diane. So the Department of Veteran Affairs has kept suicide data on our veterans and their family members for about 14 years now. And they compile that data on an annual basis. And it is based on, of course, reports from coroners, emergency departments, et cetera, et cetera. So as that data comes in, the Department of Veteran Affairs has done a lot of analysis on the data. It was recently refreshed about 3 years ago. And as you know, the statistic used to be there were on average about 22 veterans per day were dying from suicide. That data has been turned down just a bit. We're now saying anywhere between 20 and 21 veterans per day, way too many. But the statistics do show that, that there is a decline in some of the data. I need to preface that now by saying that here in Pennsylvania, we are an anomaly. We're still running at about 22 veteran deaths per day due to suicide. And that makes us an anomaly. We are above the national average. And we're doing a lot of internal studies, looking at our own data, and of course, looking at how we can provide some intervention to reduce that number to zero. Our goal in the governor's challenge, of course, is to reach zero suicides. So, data is tough. It doesn't lie. And we need to realize that we're in a real fight here. And I can assure you that from the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs standpoint, our governor's challenge team, as well as the governor's office, we are fully committed to reducing suicides to zero in the course of the next several years.
Okay. So in saying that, what is the percentage of veteran suicides among U.S. adults? So compared to the veteran suicide to the suicides just with adults, what is the percentage there? Is there a stat on that?
Yes, ma'am. It's the percentage is about 20%, which again is high. It's an anomaly. Our veterans certainly commit suicide at a higher rate than most adults do. It brings us to question the why, which is how you started this show. And if we can figure that out, we can certainly put an end to suicide. But unfortunately, as you know, no two people have the same reason. There may be similarities, but suicide is an individual choice. And it is a choice that people make based on the stressors that they have in their lives. Dr. Khan can probably expand on that a little bit, but our veterans do tend to be about 20% of that suicide population.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Kime, would you please elaborate on that more, please?
Okay. And suicide, as we know, and as Rick was saying, it's individual to each person. And it really comes down to, our military members, they are highly trained to support and protect our country, and they have good coping skills coming into the military. But then suicide, whether you're in the military or outside of the military, it comes to a point where there's so many stressors that are just piling up on a person that it outstrips their ability to be able to cope with what's going on in their life.
Okay, and those stressors, would they come from, I mean, they can come from anywhere, but being in the military, does the military, once they're in and they maybe can identify with someone who may be having tendencies, what do they do in a case like that? How is the intervention done?
Well, our goal really is to prevent things. So we do a lot of programming to teach our members about the warning signs of suicide and what to do if you recognize them in yourself or someone else, because we want to try to prevent the suicide. Now, if there is somebody that is suicidal and they're willing to come forward for help, or they have another member, a wingman, or a battle buddy that is able to get them to help, we have different support services for our members to utilize.
Okay, some of those stressors that they may encounter, it could be numerous deployments. It could be, and that's especially if it's a career service man or woman. Things such as that. Does the repetitiveness of keeping, going into the service time after time after time, or being deployed time after time, is that one of the stressors that causes possible suicides?
And it could be one of the stressors. Again, I mean, it's a culmination, and it's so different for each person how they respond to these stressors that come upon them. Traditionally, I mean, military and civilians, a lot of reasons that go back when people report about being suicidal is they have relationship issues. They could be having financial issues. The military, or even in civilian, they might be in trouble for something, whether at work or in the military. And we're here representing the National Guard. The National Guard has an additional stressor, I think, as well, is that many of us are traditional guardsmen. That means, we're civilians most of the time during the month, and then we'll come in for one weekend each month, and then also our summer training. And then we have additional duties beyond that, but we're civilians a lot. So you're trying to, juggle being a civilian as well as having a military career. And there's just a lot of stressors placed on people.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's jump back to Mark. Mark, can you give our viewers a little bit more insight into your role here in PA?
Sure. My role as a suicide prevention program manager, or coordinator, as they like to call it sometimes, is to work on those training courses that Loretta initially talked about. To give there's several different types of courses we train specific to suicide prevention. One that gives you the basics for all soldiers to learn what the risk factors are, warning signs, how to ask that question, and how to get them to immediate care. And then there are specific courses designed for when you actually have to intervene with somebody, and that's an intervention course. And one of the best ones we have is actually a course written by a civilian out of Calgary, Canada, called Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. And that's a 2-day course that goes real in depth with how to intervene with somebody, give them, and they actually practice those as they go through the training. In addition to the training, which is basically the foundation of the program we have here in the Pennsylvania Guard and all the Guard across the country, is tracking the statistical data for the suicides in this particular state, working with investigating officers when we do have a soldier that takes their life by suicide, and then providing that data and information at our monthly meetings that we hold to review those investigations to try and help identify what the factors were for that particular case, but to look for commonalities across the various suicides that we have had. And then as well as that is coordinate and collaborate with partners like Rick, Noretta, and Lori, and community partners out there in the community and the other programs that we have available. So there's a lot that goes into doing it, but it's all about the soldiers and trying to help soldiers. So it's a job well worth doing.
Thank you. And since you were talking about the programs that you do have, what is the percentage of suicides after seeking mental health services? Are there statistics on that, male and female?
I'm sure there is, and Lori or Dr. Time may have those specific. I just know that the programs that we've been running have made a difference in the units that are out there across the state. I get calls on a regular basis from those people who have come through those trainings to tell me thank you very much because they've actually intervened with somebody. And they've gotten to Lori on the Army side, Lori and people that she has in her department, or they got them to somebody that can help them with some of those factors that are causing all those additional stressors. So exact percentage numbers, I don't have those for how many the programs have helped specifically, or how many that's been through that program. But I know in a large part that the majority of the soldiers out there have been getting additional help just from the people we've been training.
Okay, thank you. Lori, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure. I truly believe that the foundation of any effective response in suicide prevention is this identifying the suicide risk factors that are relevant to what's going on in that soldier's life, and then trying to alleviate those risk factors by implementing certain appropriate interventions. And that's typically where my program comes in, and we're supplying some of the services and the interventions to the service members that Mark was referencing earlier.
Okay, so I'm not sure where this next question will fall in line, but I just think it's relevant. How are the veterans who have previous mental health issues and have come to you or have gone through one of the programs and they're deemed prone to suicidal tendencies, are they tracked? Is their behavior tracked, and are they given the follow-up care once it's tracked?
I can go ahead and answer that for you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yes, indeed, we are developing resources and tracking methods to make sure that we do appropriately case manage service members that do reach out for services. So I actually am a new part of the process of kind of reshaping and maybe rebranding psychological health services for National Guard, Army National Guard service members. I started working in January of this year, sort of looking at the program and what the needs were here in Pennsylvania and trying to kind of improve some of those services. And what we now are able to do is have a behavioral health reporting tool that each of my regional social workers are able to track data for me on a daily basis, so that we have a justifiable way of tracking all of the different types of services, not just case management, but we provide a variety of different clinical services and other types of services and referrals that are not just clinical.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Rich, I'd like to jump back up to you. Other services that are offered to families and to help, their loved one, their veteran, are there any?
One of the things that we're working on very extensively within the Governor's Challenge right now And this kind of tracks to the last set of questions as well. We know, for instance, that a veteran who may have a suicide ideation or possibly even attempted suicide, if we get them into treatment, they are 90% less likely to actually die by suicide. So getting treatment, getting that individual into treatment, healthcare services is the most important thing that we can do. So one of the things that we've based our programs around are the three tenets of education, access, and awareness. So if we can educate our service members, veterans, and their families about the services that are available to them, we can assist with gatekeeper trainings that Mark and Dr. Kahn spoke about, and we can increase awareness of what's available to our service members, veterans, and their families and community. You know, Mark spoke about some of the things that the Army National Guard provides. There are different kinds of trainings, but oftentimes our veterans are not available or eligible for a lot of different services. So it's important for us to look at how we fill those gaps, and we look to community to do that. A lot of our 501c3 not-for-profit organizations, for instance, of course, some community providers out there that do provide behavioral and mental health services, and then making sure that we help get access for those folks. So we have a new community-based outreach initiative called PA Vet Connect, which we are utilizing. It's based regionally. We've broken the Commonwealth down into 5 regions, and in each one of those regions, we have a regional program outreach coordinator whose job it is to discover the resources that are available, to catalog them inside of this resource and referral tool, and then to work closely with all of the resource providers in each and every one of those regions to make certain that we are meeting the needs of our service members, veterans, and their families who live in those communities. So it really is community-based, and it's driven by pushing services to the lowest possible level where our service members, veterans, and their families live. And we know if we can connect people to services, we can save lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Kahn, should all servicemen and women undergo some sort of stress management, or do they already have a program in place to do that?
It would kind of depend on what you mean by stress management. We try to do a lot of training and teaching people how to, navigate different kind of hurdles or difficulties they might encounter, and that comes along with the prevention program and understanding yourself and working on some coping skills. There's not necessarily a stress management program, or at least at the Air National Guard, that we make people go through or that we we track them going through. But we do a lot of different programming and make it available to members.
Okay.
But I think,
thank you.
I don't think, and you had said about whether they should have to. I don't think stress management or any kind of training like that is harmful to anyone. Anyone could benefit from it.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Mark, let's go back to you. And there are those who have less than honorable discharges. I wanted to talk about the veterans benefits and how this rolls into one of the stressors for possibly a soldier who has, again, less than honorable discharge. Their benefits are affected, and just the whole snowball effect of that could lead to possible suicide. Can we talk a little bit about the whole benefit part of this and the effect that it can have?
And Rick, you may want to jump in here, but from the couple times I worked directly with the VA, and I think there is a way they're now working for people to have those less than honorable discharges reevaluated and possibly upgraded so they can receive some of those benefits. Because it definitely does make an additional stressor for some of the veterans out there not having access to the care that they should get simply based on the fact that they did serve in uniform. So, Rick, if you can expand on that a little bit, I would really appreciate it, because, again, the veteran stuff is your bailiwick 100%.
Thank
Sure,
you, Mark.
I got you. And Diane, yeah. So Our department also provides an outreach team and a programs and services team. And through those two teams, we employ accredited veteran service officers. And any one of our accredited veteran service officers is able to help a veteran look at and submit an application for an upgrade for their discharge. So other than honorable or any other less than honorable type discharge, we can assist the veteran in getting an upgrade so that we can improve their eligibility for benefits. But I want to stress to you right now, the one thing that if you take nothing else away and you're one of those soldiers that has a less than honorable discharge, the VA has made provisions for any veteran, regardless of characterization of service, to be eligible for initial mental health and behavioral health screening and suicide risk screenings. So regardless of your characterization of discharge, if you're in distress, if you are considering or even thinking about hurting yourself, Mark would refer to those as ideations, you are eligible for VA health care, and we will do everything we can to help you get into treatment at a VA facility. And the other thing that I would really like to do, Diane, is provide you with the Veterans Crisis Line. So if there is a veteran or a service member out there at this time that may be in crisis, if you hear this message and you're thinking about doing harm to yourself, please call 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. You will immediately be taken to a trained veteran provider who will be able to work you through the crisis, get you some immediate help, do a wellness check if necessary, but get you into treatment right away. It's so very important to understand that number is a lifeline. It really is. And that's 1-800-273-8255, then press 1.
Thank you, Rick, so much. And all of that information will be available in the ending credits, so everyone will have access to it. Thank you so much for that. Rick, I think this question may go to you, but anyone can jump in. What is the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for American Veterans Bill?
Okay, so I'll take that one. So that bill provides resources so that service providers who are recognized service providers are able to provide services to service members, veterans, or their families for anyone that may be in crisis. And they assist with a number of different programs and a number of different interventions that really help a person stabilize, become confident in a recovery, and to pursue, it helps them to learn how to deal with the different stressors that they may be facing and to self-identify and then avoid those kinds of stressors.
Okay, excellent. And through some of my research, I did read that there's also a Female Veteran Suicide Prevention Act which provides mental health and suicide prevention programs that meets gender-specific needs of women veterans. Lori or Dr. Kime, would one of you like to take that one? Somebody?
All right.
So, okay, I can talk about that a little bit, Diane. So again, that's a VA program. That program, again, any one of our VA medical centers or the community-based outreach clinics that are satellite offices, they're basically community offices for our veterans. If a female veteran is feeling the stressors and you know, as you said, gender specific, a lot of times female veterans will have suffered some sort of military sexual trauma or other traumas that are not necessarily influenced or have the same stressors for male counterparts. That does not mean that male service members don't experience military sexual trauma, because they do. But these programs are designed specifically to assist our female veterans, and those programs are very accessible through those community-based outpatient clinics that I spoke about.
Okay, Thank you very much for that. Because I needed clarity on that myself. So thank you for that understanding. I'd like to move now to Mr. and Mrs. Crupe. We were having technical difficulty, and I'm hoping that that has been cleared up. Mr. and Mrs. Crupe, can you hear me? I think we may still be running into some technical difficulty with them. Just so that our viewers know, Mr. and Mrs. Crupe, and I don't have all the specifics on this as yet, but they lost their son to suicide, and he was a he was a veteran with the National Guard, and was hoping that we would be able to speak with them so that they could take us on their journey as to how they've been helped through their situation. Mr. and Mrs. Crupe, can you hear me? I don't believe they can.
We can hear you.
Okay. Could you take us on the journey of your son?
We can.
Okay, yes, you are breaking up. You are breaking up. And we're going to make, just so that our viewers know, we do know that there is a PSA that your family has put out regarding your son, and we are going to have that available for people to see with this presentation. So thank you very much for being with us to share your story, but we will make sure that the parts of the story that we can provide will be provided for everyone to hear. So thank you so much for being here. Mark, let's go back to you. Mark, can you give us some information on if someone needed your help? Tell us how that they would get the help that you can provide to them in your office.
They'd either call me directly at the office, or they'd reach out through one of our other programs at the Service Member Family Support Division, which is where I fall underneath, through one of our, they just changed their name, but they used to be the Family Assistance Center Specialists. Now they're the Soldier and Family Readiness Specialists. There's 16 of them out across the state, and they're located right with the units out there, and I always like to call them the gatekeepers, because the soldiers get to see them on a regular basis. They get to know the soldiers very well, and when the soldier comes up with some sort of concern or issue, or maybe a risk, usually they'll go to one of them first to solve something to help the family out. They'll contact me if they don't have a resource, and then I'll link them up with other resources. Sometimes I get it through emails, phone calls at night on the cell phone, or other resources calling to ask if I can help them link them up with somebody. It's just a lot of partnerships and coordination amongst various resources, our service members, family members, and civilian organizations.
Okay, so it's not difficult for someone to get help if they needed help. All they need to do is just reach out, and the helping hand is there, it seems like.
Absolutely, and that's one of the biggest things that we've had to work and hard to overcome, was them being willing to reach out for help, no matter how small it may be or how big it may be. The stigma isn't as bad as it was 10 years ago, but you still have a lot of our soldiers out there that just are afraid to reach out for that help. And as soon as they do, I mean, there's resources available 24/7. You just got to reach out and ask for it.
Okay, excellent. Again, I'm going to put another question out there, and I'm not certain who would be able to answer this. Suppose you have a veteran that has possibly been in the Vietnam War. So we're going back some years. They've been in the Vietnam War, and through the years, a lot of things has been festering within them. Now they're at a point in their life where things are not mattering anymore. How can we help them, or are they're obviously, I think they're eligible for help, but how would we help someone like that?
Okay. Diane, this is Rick. I'll jump on that one for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start from the top down, federal right down to community level. So the first thing that veteran could do is call the Veterans Crisis Line, of course. Help is there. They'll get the referral that they need, and they'll get the treatment they need. Certainly, a Vietnam era veteran has likely looked at the potential for a claim, either for compensation and pension or other services. So there may be some eligibility for VA healthcare there. As I said before, behavioral and mental health, the VA will make healthcare, mental health care available to any veteran out there. If you're in crisis, don't hesitate to call that crisis line or go to a VA medical center. Certainly here at our department, we employ accredited veteran service officers, and part of their training is how to assist our veterans when they're seeking help, especially for mental or behavioral health conditions that may indicate they're in crisis and considering suicide. So that's an important part of what we do here at the department level, and our folks are trained and able to help with that very, very carefully. The next level we would go down is to the county directors of Veteran Affairs. Every one of our counties here in the Commonwealth has a county director of Veteran Affairs. They are accredited veteran service officers, and their job is to assist our veterans get the full measure of every benefit that they've earned through military service. Helping them with that is the local veteran service organizations. So the American Legion, the VFW, Disabled American Veterans, AMVETS, Vietnam Veterans of America, Military Order of the Purple Heart, and there are others. But those are like 6 of the big ones that we have. Any one of those accredited veteran service officers are able to assist with getting a veteran to the resources that they need. Certainly starting compensation or pension claims, assisting with benefits, and direct referrals. One of those referrals would be directly to local vet centers. There are 83 vet centers located throughout the Commonwealth, and our vet centers are there for combat veterans. These are folks that have served in combat and have special needs. The important thing about these vet centers is that they are all manned by combat veterans. They are all trained in suicide awareness, suicide prevention. They are experienced in helping a veteran work through the challenges that they're facing that may be causing them to be in crisis. They will assist with some of the stressors, certainly make referrals, again, to the VA or to community providers that are able to assist and meet the needs of that particular veteran. A lot of times our veterans don't want to go to the VA. So those community partners that we have out there are extremely important in filling that gap when you have a service member, and as you indicated, some Vietnam veterans, they don't always feel comfortable with government or with going to the VA. So there are resources in the community that we can point these veterans to that can help them with the challenges and the crises that they may be facing. And certainly family. One of the things that both Dr. Keim and Lori and Mark spoke about were the gatekeeper training classes that we're doing throughout the Commonwealth. Mental health first aid, assist, QPR, that's question, persuade, refer. All of these courses help us identify the early signs that somebody may be thinking about committing suicide and what it is that we can do to help them deal with those challenges. So it's really important for us to know that we start a community and we work our way up. There is a great network of services available out there. Help is available, as you said, Diane. Help is available. All a person needs to do is reach out to any one of us. Let us know that you're facing a challenge, and we are there with resources to help. And we'll make sure that you get through the night. And as we used to say, when the demons come to your door, brother, reach out. We'll fight them together.
I like that. I like that. Very well said. Now, I understand the help is there. I understand the services that are provided, but what do you do when a person doesn't know, doesn't, isn't aware that these services are provided? I've been to different workshops that have to do with veterans, and it's unfortunate that some of them stood up and said, we didn't know about this program, we didn't know about that program, and these are veterans. So how do we get the word out there? Obviously through shows like this, but how do we get the word out there for people to be aware of the services that are available to them? Because some just don't know.
So you're living my life right now, Diane. So obviously, you're right. Through shows like this, platforms like this help us get our message out, and awareness. Remember those three tenets I spoke about. Awareness being the second leg of that three-legged stool. We've got to make people aware of what's out there, and shows like this help us do that. So we spend a lot of time earning media, radio, TV, your show, et cetera, et cetera. And this really helps us reach a lot of people quickly. But there are other ways. Certainly, Mark and Dr. Prime and Lori all spoke about the educational things that we do inside of our military service organizations, whether it's any one of our armed forces. All of these kinds of trainings are delivered to our service members. And it's important, if you're a service member, listen to what's going on around you, become aware of the resources that are available. But what we've done here in the department, and we believe this is a great initiative, again, I'll say it, PA Vet Connect, a community-based outreach initiative that is designed to help us reach down into community at the grassroots level to increase awareness, provide the education necessary so that our service members, veterans, and their families are aware of all of the things that are available to them, and then to facilitate access to those services. We can't say it enough. Outreach is the key to success here. We have got to continue to do all the kinds of outreach that we're available to do, whether that's social media, earned media, or our own owned media. And we're stressing each and every one of our systems to make sure that we get this out as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Because again, if we can reach you, if we can talk with you, if we can delay your ideation for 5 minutes, we can save your life.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Do you ever do workshops out in the different communities? Do you ever have, just say for instance, at a facility, and the ability of having a workshop, just say, and I'm not endorsing anything, I am just saying, for instance, just say at a YMCA or YWCA or a facility such as that, where you could go in and have different things set up for veterans to come in just to be able to get some knowledge? Or is anything like that available in the different communities where people maybe cannot get to you? Is there a way that you can get to them?
Yes, ma'am. So we're doing a lot of that right now. So within communities, working with our federal partners, the federal VA, and of course through our PA Vet Connect program, a lot of community outreach is ongoing. We are providing different classes, assist, question, persuade, refer, mental health, first aid, all of these gatekeeper trainings that Mark and Dr. Khan and Lori spoke about. They are providing all of those kinds of trainings in community at each one of the units that we have throughout the Commonwealth for the Pennsylvania Army and Air National Guard. We do the same thing with our reserve forces, and there are some active duty posts in the Commonwealth, although not very many. So more than 800,000 veterans living in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Add to that about another 20,000 Army and Air National Guard soldiers, and then around 7,000 active duty members. And we've got a pretty healthy military community here in the Commonwealth. About 1 in 12 people you see on the street is either an active serving member or a veteran. So we have a great history of service here in the Commonwealth. These community events are so important. And again, partnering, doing town halls, veteran town halls, working with the federal VA over the last 3 months we have managed to reach more than 300,000 veterans and family members here in the Commonwealth alone, spreading our story, talking about the benefits, services, and programs that are available to them, answering individual questions, and making sure that we always do a follow-up. That connectedness, keeping people connected, is the key. Our service members leave military service with a connection that is almost phenomenal. They've always had somebody to watch their back. They've always had somebody to share a burden. There's always somebody close by that you can talk to. There's always somebody there that has a shared experience with you. They leave military service and they find that lacking. All of a sudden they're on their own. That transition is tough. It's difficult, and we know that. So a lot of what Mark and his team are doing are also transitional services, helping people cope with that loss of connectedness. So we need to get them connected back into community, back into their neighbors and their fellow service members and their fellow veterans who live here in this Commonwealth, and get some of that connectedness back. And through that capability, we can always send caring messages, letting people know that we care about them, we care about their military culture, we care about the service that they've delivered to this great nation, and we care about them as people. So connectedness and caring is what our efforts are all about right now. And again, PA Vet Connect being a tool that we're going to utilize to get deep into community so that we can start to establish that culture as our service members transition to veterans, and they can remain connected to each other.
And it just goes to show how very important that community outreach is, and the outreach period, so that, again, as we've emphasized before, there's always someone there to help.
Yes, and Diana, if you don't mind, I'd like to just kind of piggyback on that as well, and kind of tell you a little bit more about the care and the coordination of what my team is doing within the Army National Guard, and some of these activities that the social workers are providing across the states. I have a team of 6 social workers that are doing things like briefings, where they are providing information to stakeholders. They're actually doing one-on-one interactions with service members, their family members, to provide some basic information, referrals, and resources. They also are coordinating with the community to help coordinate care for the service members. They're attending events, events like this, meetings. We're attending drills. We're going to unit meetings to talk to leadership. Lots of community events given as much as we can throughout the pandemic. And then we're also providing trainings, psychoeducational events that kind of involve my staff teaching specific skills and behaviors to service members. Given the pandemic this year, we were still able to provide over 3,113 of these types of services across Pennsylvania, just a team of 6 of us this year. So we really are having a very strong focus on care and coordination for our service members and veterans.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, that the help is out there. You all as a team, a unified team, I must say as well, that you have just given so much information to our viewers today about everything that they would need to know in order not to feel a certain way. And, for lack of a better word, the way that things are happening today and the way that people are feeling about things today, the type of services that you are providing to our veterans is something that's very important. I see veterans out on the streets every day, which is heartbreaking to me. I see veterans who, and know of veterans who have committed suicide, and those who are just having a very hard time reintegrating back into society, if you will, once they've been deployed for years and years and years, and then to come home and not have the stability of home life as that they did when they left. It's just heartbreaking, and it's so good to see that there is help for them. You know, the reintegration back into society, back into home life, back into church life, back into school, or whatever it is that they want. And I know for a lot of our veterans, it's very difficult. Dr. Kine, can you speak on that?
In regard to the veterans having difficulties reintegrating?
Yes.
And I mean, transitions are difficult. I mean, in general, a veteran or civilian, any kind of life change that you're going through, and coming, from the military, where Rick was saying earlier about we're used to having support. We have, a wingman, we have a battle buddy, and then just when you come out, you don't have that level of support, or you don't believe you have that level of support. So we work really hard to help people reintegrate into the community and into a civilian life and have the supports while they can still keep, the connections and that support that they had while they were in the military when they are a civilian, so they don't lose it all, that it's not like you're out of the military, see you later. It's a smoother transition, so it's not as abrupt and difficult on our members.
And then again, as we were talking about it before, people just need to know about this, because there are, and I know a few, just a few, well, that's a few too many, but who have come out of the service and just seem to be lost. Family gone, wife gone, different things such as that, family issues, and they just seem to be lost. And this type of programming can really help. And I'm so glad that we have something like this on tonight, to be able to share with our viewers that there is help out there, and that it's not far away, and anything is possible. All they have to do is just reach out and get your help. And I thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. With that, since we are coming to the close of our program, Mark, would you please have some parting words for us, for our viewers?
Sure, I'll give it my best shot. One thing I'd like to say is that when you put that uniform on, you gain a second family. And that family will be there for you always. You just need to reach out to them when you need that help. Don't be afraid to do that. The resources are out there. You just need to reach out for them. There are people all across this Commonwealth that are there to help not only our service members, but our veterans and their families. So don't be afraid to reach out there and get that help.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Rick, any parting words for us?
Certainly. Follow up on what Mark said. You're not alone. That's the key. That is the key message that I would like all of our service members, veterans, and their family members to remember. You are not alone. Reach out for help. It's there. We're trained and able to help you, and we can get you to the resources that you need in the communities where you live. And just remember, if you know someone and you think they're in crisis, please don't ever leave them alone. Stay with them, keep them talking, do wellness checks if you have to, but get them to somebody that can help deal with the challenges that they're facing.
Thank you, Rick. Lori.
Yes, I like to just say that oftentimes service members and veterans don't want to reach out for help because they're afraid of how it might affect their military career, if they are still in the National Guard or in active. And what I want to point out to those individuals is that it's actually the opposite would actually be happening if you don't tend to reach out for help. A lot of times those factors, those stressors will continue to be there, or may even get worse. And then as that situation worsens, then that could potentially affect your military career. So we are here to help retain you. We want to keep you. You know, the military's put a lot of money into you. And so, of course, they want to retain the service member. And so if you reach out, we can help link you to the right services, get you the help that you need, help you to get back to that level of functioning that you want and that you deserve. So please reach out. As each of us have seen, the resources are out there, and hopefully these are the faces that you can see that truly do care and do want to coordinate and want to be there for you, and that maybe this will make it a little bit easier for you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. And Dr. Kime.
The big takeaway is that suicide prevention is an ongoing conversation. It's not just a one-time training. It's not just like a list of resources that we provide to our members. Many times people, they do get the resources. And I know I've heard oftentimes people are like, I didn't know that resource was available when we talk about it over and over. But if a person's not at a spot where they see the information as being relevant, where they don't need to remember, or they think they don't need to remember the Veterans Crisis Line, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other, which is why we keep talking about it over and over again, to reinforce the importance of it and to teach people again about themselves if they would ever need it, as well as to be a resource to those others that might need it. So it's about the awareness in addition to the prevention and teaching wellness to our members to help battle this ongoing struggle with suicide and suicide prevention we're trying to impart.
Thank you, Dr. Kime. And then last we have Mr. and Mrs. Crupe, which we thank so much for being with us this evening. Unfortunately, again, we had technical difficulties with them, for them telling us about the journey that they're on right now with the loss of their son. But again, please stay tuned, and we will have that information on our station for you to view. I'd like to thank everyone for being on the show this evening. Thank you for joining us. And if you know anyone who is experiencing questionable and/or concerning tendencies, please do not hesitate to reach out. My expert panelists tonight have given you all sorts of information on how you can reach out. Community outreach, someone is always there to help you. You are not alone. So thank you, panel, for being with us this evening and giving us your expertise on this subject. And the contact information will be available in the ending credits for any of you who are seeking help. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and we will see you next time on the Veterans Channel. If you know of anyone who is experiencing questionable and/or concerning tendencies, please reach out to the Suicide Prevention Hotline. A helping hand is waiting.